Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. All right, guys, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Origyn, the ICP ecosystem, ICP, and a number of other things, okay? Now, if you haven't seen my older video or videos on Origyn, I would probably recommend watching this video before you watch the video I'm about to do right now, unless you know a decent amount about Origyn to begin with, okay? Because there's going to be some gaps and some things I'm going to be covering if you're going in like with no knowledge whatsoever, okay? And I do want to clarify and elaborate on some things I said on Twitter the other day, and if you didn't see it, that's fine. I'll just explain what was said. So somebody in the ICP space asked the general community, what in the ICP ecosystem are you most bullish on? And I said Origyn. And I said something in there that I do want to elaborate on. I said, for me personally, and this doesn't have to be the way you look at things, that I have a better read. I have more confidence assessing a more so institutional type software product like Origyn, even though there is a retail component to Origyn's product as well, for things like, okay, if they do end up landing one of these diamond grading companies, you buy a diamond ring and it's certified by that diamond grading company, you get an Origyn certificate. So I'm not saying that it's just 100% an institutional type software product. It's just an easier read for me because I can look at the target markets. I understand how big they are. I can look at other competitors to see what kind of type of functionality they have and how it compares to Origyn. And I understand that they're already out being used right now by industry leaders. And so I just have more personal confidence with that read than I would looking at 10 different social media applications and saying these three are the ones I think are going to do well long term and gain mass adoption. So that's all I was saying, but that doesn't have to be the way that you approach things, because I do think, and I am invested in, I have a decent position. I actually have a lot of confidence and conviction with OpenChat. And, I think and hope the others will do well. I just don't have that degree of confidence to be able to pick winners, and I should just openly say that. Yeah, so just there you go. You might have more confidence in that read than I do, but I do think the ones that go on to achieve mass adoption and that become the new social media companies of the future, they very well may have more upside, significantly more upside. It's hard because you're comparing apples and oranges, right? And you also have to consider Origyn's targeting multi-trillion-dollar markets, right? And on top of that, too, with GoldDAO, just the possibility that they could create one of the main Goldback stablecoins globally, which I think that they're a leading candidate to do so. Whether or not they will or won't is yet to be seen. If you add that on top of it, it just gets pretty crazy. So extremely bullish on Origyn. And I doubled my position. I put that in the community tab yesterday. So I moved it up to 250,000 Origyn. And then I only have like 16,000 GoldDAO. But I kind of view both of them as kind of one and the same. Not exactly, but about as close as you can get. And yeah, so I was just late on GoldDAO because I'm an idiot and I didn't do the pre-launch buy. So yeah. But super bullish, and I'll go over some things as far as why I'm super bullish. And I am eagerly anticipating this diamond grading announcement, and I can't overstate that. And I don't really care, assuming everything we heard was true. All right. I don't really care which diamond grading company it is, as long as it's one of the main ones. And the reason why I think that Origyn can capture the large majority of that market first is just because of the way the industry is set up, because there are different dynamics. Let's just take these four markets, because I do think Origyn's going to do more outside of this. It's not just that I think that. If you look at what they're doing with Federality, that looks like it has a much wider scope than just these four markets specifically, with authentic Italian products. But if we just focus on these four markets, and if you look at how they would go about capturing market share in these markets, there's just different dynamics involved, right? Because with gold, there has to be, it appears, some alteration with the minting process for QR codes and serial numbers. So that's like a whole operational type change that would have to happen with potentially other gold refiners in the future, right? So there's more moving parts with that. Whereas with, and this is just the way that I'm looking at this, I might be wrong here. I'm just thinking out loud, all right? But with the diamonds industry, the way that it has been going up until this point, and I, confirmed this with at least one person, a family member, who my brother bought a diamond ring, a GIA certified diamond ring, and got a PDF like a few years ago. And so them moving from sending PDFs via email to digital certificates on the blockchain it seems like an easier transition for that industry in that market than the wide scale global change with the way certain metals are minted, even though I do think this is going to happen over time in the metals industry, pretty much across the board. Regardless of anybody's thoughts and feelings about that, that's where I think this is going, because I think everything is going to be tokenized on the blockchain over a long enough time frame. So with Origyn, the big differentiators for anybody who's not seen my earlier videos, and so to some degree this will be a little bit of a recap on different things, but for Origyn, the big differentiators is the digital certificate itself and all the value added services that can be built into the digital certificate, and that is end to end on ICP. And I'm just going to read over different things. And this goes back to all the network level functionality that ICP has. And so in many ways, much of Origyn's value proposition to the market aligns with and is married to ICP's value proposition to the market. It's always, for the most part, guys, it's always going to go back to the network level functionality with ICP and the gap between that and everything else. But just with the different value added services they can build in to their digital certificates. Proof of ownership, insurance, warranties, lost and stolen alerts, claims, appraisal history, service records, community and loyalty-based privileges and entitlements, an embedded marketplace, financing, collateralization, heritage records, pre-production rights, manufacturing reviews. So many different things can be built in to these digital certificates. And it's just very difficult for me to see. Let's just go one by one. It's difficult for me to see the diamond grading space, right? The different diamond grading companies. And so just in a general sense, for anybody who didn't see that older video, you have the diamond suppliers, and then you have the diamond certification bodies that grade the diamonds. And it's just very difficult for me to see one of them deciding to use a product like Origyn and delivering digital certificates with all of these value-added services on the blockchain, end-to-end on-chain, stored on-chain, but yet the other ones continuing to send PDFs via email. It's very difficult for me to see. So I don't think that's going to happen long-term. I do think they will all move to more so this type of a product as opposed to PDFs via email. But maybe somebody else creates a comparable product. However, if you were to, just walk all that, go all the way through with that thought process, anybody who builds a potentially a comparable product, it's hard for me to imagine it not being inferior, because where are they going to build their product? If it's anywhere other than ICP at this point in time, there's going to be gaps relative to this. All right. And this gets, this ties back into older videos. It's the same exact concept with third-party bridges, the same exact concept with using big tech cloud, using oracles. It's just the more and more and more counterparties you have to include in the conversation in order to just create a comparable, not even an equal, called a comparable product. And if you're an institution, and this is a fact too, I don't give a shit what anybody says on the internet. It's not always a determining factor, but it is taken into consideration. All else being equal, if you're an institution and you're evaluating two different software products, you're going to implement one of these products for operations, right? And one of those products does everything as an end-to-end solution, and the other product is like 3 different software solutions all integrated together, single sign-on solution, but it is technically 3 different software products, 3 different companies, in order to create one product. The institution evaluating both of those different solutions, all right, they would 100% take that into consideration. Most important part of this conversation, all else being equal, meaning equal functionality, generally equal security, and everything else kind of checks out, just as far as them being comparable. They would 100% take that into consideration because they have to assess each of those different companies as well and each of those different solutions. So that is taken into consideration during institutional evaluation. It's not always the determining factor, and every case is different, but that is taken into consideration. And I would love to, for anybody who thinks it isn't, I mean, let me know your experience, because I have very different experience, and I have a lot of other friends that have had similar jobs, and that's just kind of how it goes. If you have an end-to-end solution, you are probably, that's going to be more ideal for institutions than a solution that includes 3 different software solutions all integrated together, but still 3 different software solutions and 3 different software companies, just to create one final product, okay, to meet all the criteria of that institution. So anyways, I don't want to get into the weeds on that. I'm just saying that I don't see how somebody's going to create a better product like this, because if it's not on ICP, there's going to be gaps relative to, it's all relative to this. All right. Pretty much everything is, when you're looking at potential competitors to ICP and or something like Origyn. So, and even if somebody were to come back behind Origyn and build a comparable type of a solution on ICP, they're already behind. Origyn is already out to market, already being used by industry leaders in the precious metal space, a multi-trillion-dollar market. So they're already working with industry leaders. And I don't even know of a comparable product on the market right now. Now, understand, real world assets is an umbrella term, and there will be different parts of the real world asset space. But as it relates to luxury assets specifically, I think Origyn's going to be the global industry leader. And I think that in these 4 markets, and probably other markets, I think over time, and I do think this is going to take time, and I should have said that earlier, but I think I think there are going to be inferior products created, the same way like with Bitcoin scaling solutions, the same way like with these third-party bridges. Just because a product may be inferior, it's not going to stop people from creating those products and at least trying, right? Trying to make it a workable, scalable solution. But I think over time, all that's going to happen is their market share is going to increase in each of these different markets. I just see them being able to capture the diamonds market sooner than the others, because the way the diamonds industry and diamond certification bodies, the way all of that is set up, it makes it, just in my own perception, and I could be wrong, it makes it look like it could be a much quicker turnaround time with them gaining an extreme amount of market share in a shorter amount of time compared to these others. Luxury watches would probably be next because they have their own hardware. I guess a lot of that would just depend on the amount of resources and ability to scale, and really the demand from within the luxury watch industry. But to that point, so this was a video that I showed in one of my earlier Origyn videos, right? Now, they're already working with Watchbox. It's been out for a couple years. Right? We mentioned this back when it originally happened. But the CEO of Richard Mille was sitting right here with Vincent Perriard, their Origyn's co-founder. The CEO of Richard Mille, which is one of the most, expensive luxury watch companies in the world, was sitting right next to the co-founder of Origyn. All right. And also up here was the gentleman from Watchbox who's already using Origyn. And they already have their own hardware and software to be able to do these 360-degree scans and give them their biometric fingerprint to be able to differentiate one watch from another watch. So again, when and if the announcement drops with the diamond grading company, we'll reassess the situation at that point. But I think that at that point in time, they are the undisputed industry leader in the luxury asset space. All right. I don't, you would have to be able to point to other examples of better products that already have adoption from some of the largest players in the industry. I just laugh when these brainlets on Twitter, are talking, oh, real world assets. This is going to be the leader. Well, I mean, and the other things that they're talking about, depending on what it is, might do really well. But I'm just saying that to completely dismiss what's happening with Origyn is just crazy. It really is. But it's all intertwined with the ICP value proposition, and the same concepts are always going to, always, the same concepts are mostly going to apply when you're looking at competition. There's always going to be holes. There's probably always going to be more counterparty risk. And there's probably always going to be gaps in functionality. It's going to be one solution that's piecemealed together by like 3 or 4 different technologies and 3 or 4 different companies, which institutions do take that into consideration. Not saying it's a determining factor, but they take it into consideration, all else being equal. I've ran into this numerous different times with numerous companies evaluating software solutions. All right. So I think they had the best product. And I don't see how somebody's going to create a better product. And I think that it's further validated by what's playing out in the real world with their adoption. Again, the CEO from Richard Mille was sitting right here next to the co-founder of Origyn during this re-luxury event, which really just seemed like an Origyn event. But yeah, so now on top of that, on top of everything that we just been over, I do expect them to just gradually gain more market share over time in all these different markets. All right. And I do expect other inferior products to be created, which will probably last longer than they should. But, an inferior product being created and lasting longer than it should does not change the long-term trajectory. And I think that over time, if you're an institution, why are you going to use an inferior software product? You might initially, but over a long enough time frame, in most cases, you're going to find your way to the best product available for you and your company. Okay. But on top of that, guys, so let's just, as an add-on, GoldDAO, guys, if they just create one of the better Goldback stablecoins in the world, which I think that they will, because all the right players are involved and they're using ICP and Origyn. So from a tech perspective, they're already going to have a leg up over any potential competitor that's using a different network to build on. So I think that they're a leading candidate right now to create a Goldback stablecoin. And it seems like we're hearing more and more about that globally over the last couple of years. Goldback stablecoins, goldback currencies, figuring out a way to make it happen because currency needs to be backed by something, because it's like that seems like the direction things are going. And I do imagine that there will be commodity or gold-backed currencies. And if they can create one of the better ones that gains adoption globally, I mean, the sky is the limit. I mean, it really is. I don't know if I could be more bullish on Origyn. I mean, nothing's ever a sure thing. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. Don't overextend yourself in certain assets and positions. But I just don't see it. I don't see how anybody creates a comparable solution. So, guys, I think let me see if I got anything else here. Oh, this is the chart. And yeah, this is like the all-time, it looks like, chart for Origyn. And so this goes back, I think, to last year. But we'll see what happens here, guys. You know, I don't really care one way or the other. I think the market's going to work itself out whenever it does. Don't really care when that happens. I'm more so just focused on the continued development and adoption and the gap between what Origyn can do, what ICP can do, and what everybody else can do. Hype and speculation and narratives don't last forever. And after all those things kind of start to die off, your tech has to be able to actually do shit and solve problems and meet the criteria for the institutions that are looking for new software solutions. So all this Twitter talk, and I'm going to address that in a different video, actually. I'm going to address that in a different video. I'm not going to go on a long spiel now at the end of this video, but I'll address that in a different video. Guys, that's pretty much all I have for this. Do your own research. Again, not financial advice, but I couldn't be more bullish on Origyn. And that's why I said Origyn the other day when that individual asked the question to the broader community. But I will say, again, I think that many of these ICP-based guys, the ICP ecosystem, there's going to be phenomenal opportunities there. Not all those companies are going to make it, but there are going to be phenomenal opportunities there. It's just about assessing which play is the right play for you, looking at valuations relative to ICP, very important. Probably going to have to talk about that again in a future video. And limiting exposure to something that you're comfortable with. All right. Because as long as, like, there's investments that I have, guys, that, you know, investments in certain alts or ICP coins or whatever, smaller cap plays, that if they go to zero, I do not give a shit. I'm not selling. I would ride it to zero before I sold, because I limited my exposure to something that I was comfortable with. And so, but if it does go to the moon, I'm going to be holding it, right? So it's like making sure that your exposure aligns with your conviction. Important concept. Guys, that's it. I'll get another video out probably tomorrow, maybe later tonight. It just depends. But I do want to discuss some other things, and I will get that video out between now and Monday night about what if big tech, what if AWS and Google Cloud create some competitor to ICP? Because I thought about this a lot. I was actually one of the people that brought this up back in like early 2022 as a potential thing that could happen. So I can't really get mad at people for asking about that. So I will address that. I'll do a video on that at some point between now and Monday evening. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to shut up. Take care. Not financial advice. Do your own research. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.